Welcome everybody to the second episode of whatever we're going to end up calling this at some point, because we'll figure it out. We've talked around the names of Cheddar Talk, Cheddar TV we've used before in the past, but we could always bring that back. The bi-weekly Cheddar is another name that we've kind of thrown around. If you think if you have a creative name for what we could call this bi-weekly check-in show that we're doing, please feel free to drop it into the chat or message it to one of us. If you think of something like, oh, hey, that would be a really fun name, we would really appreciate that. My name is Taylor Dunn. I'm the general manager of OA Cheddar. I am joined by my brother, Grant Dunn, who is one of the co-founders of OA Cheddar. How you doing, Grant?
I'm doing good, Taylor. How are you?
I'm doing great.
I'm so bad at this.
It's fine. You're going to get used to it. This is a casual. If this is your first time joining us, this is a casual call. We're not going to sit here and pitch a bunch of stuff to you. We're not going to be all proper. I got a little rum and Coke in here. Grant's got his beer. So we encourage you guys, if you're at home, if it's the end of the day, go ahead and pop open a beer or a glass of wine. We're hoping that this is going to be more lighthearted, have some good information, show you guys what's possible with an Amazon store when you are sourcing specifically off of lead lists and buying primarily fresh data. That's our topic for tonight, but we're going to open it up. We're going to do that for about 30 minutes, and then we're going to open up another 30 minutes or so of questions. We do have a hard deadline on this, the show. I'm going to just keep calling it a show, Grant. It's a show. We're going to put a hard deadline of 1 hour. So we have 55 minutes left in today's episode. If you guys are with me, go ahead and pop in the chat. Just say hello, say hi. Let us know that you're here, that you can hear us. You never know how tech can be. I see it come through. What's up, Martin? Oh,
I'll do this one. I got this.
Okay.
I'm going to hold on. Let me think about it. But, oh man.
No, he gives it to us.
Bakitiar. Okay. Bach. Okay. We'll call you Bach. But I love your name. It's like so legit. Like Ruzi. Okay. Bakitiar Ruzi Bayev. Thank you for being here, sir. I've seen that name a few times, I think, on other calls. And, but yeah, we'll remember that. We'll call you Bach or Bach. How would I say that correctly? So I'm gonna make sure I remember your name.
No, he says you nailed it, buddy.
Buck. Okay.
That is
I nailed it.
Name. You nailed it, I think. He says you nailed it.
Love that.
That's really good.
Amarui Azula. Welcome to the call.
What is going on, Ed Dassey? Hey Ed, I might be throwing around the idea of flying out to Phoenix in the upcoming months to visit up with somebody. Wouldn't mind connecting with you while I'm down there. So let's make sure we connect at some point. But you can pronounce Ed. Awesome, guys. Well, Grant has prepared a short but full of great content slideshow that we're going to be running through. He's going to be showing you stats on our own actual business, where we're at. For those of you who don't know, Grant and I also have an Amazon FBA business. We've been selling for, Grant, I feel like we're at 10 years. You've been selling for 10 years.
Yeah.
I think I've been with you for 5.
Yep. I want to say drop shipping was like late 2013. And then 2014 started doing the retail arbitrage. Something like that. I could have that year quite a little bit messed up, but yeah. So it's been a minute.
So we're going to be opening up and just showing some different things from our inventory lab account, kind of walking you through a very, kind of like a bird's eye view of what our business looks like on a day-to-day basis. We run things very, very light and simple. In our business, it's my brother Grant, myself, our cousin Charles, and then our sister Kimberly part-time that all work on our Amazon FBA business. Grant essentially puts out major fires and handles some repricing stuff. But for the most part, it's really ran off of, it was me and Charles and it seems to be more now Charles with Kimberly's help. Kimberly is part-time, Charles is full-time.
Well,
He
he's
splits
part,
up.
no.
He's
Yeah,
he's
Taylor's.
part-time. He's part-time in the FBA business, but he also works for OA Cheddar part-time. And then myself, I'm more in OA Cheddar than I am now in the FBA business. But for a while there, it was really me and Charles. And our hopes that are one of our hopes that we can show in this presentation is this business can be done simply. It's not gonna, you're not gonna crack 8 figures doing it that simple method, but you can make yourself a nice healthy income while investing into your business and growing it without a need for a large team. I mean, I always think this: if it was a husband and wife doing this business the way that we do it, they'd be able to pull off a good healthy income yearly with minimal input, you know, maybe anywhere from 5 to 6 hours a day, with the occasional quarterly or monthly you know, amount of work that might take a day or two to accomplish. So if you guys are excited for us to go ahead and start going into this, just go ahead and put yes in the chat. Let us know that you're ready for Grant to start his presentation. And Grant, you should be able to share your screen and take it from there.
I'll do that. As soon as I get a handful of yeses, I'll jump in there. I just want to let you all know that Gouda 2 is officially underway. If you go check your email from us, you should see a couple emails inviting you to an opt-in form or a survey or an application form where you can let us know a little bit about what your store looks like, and you can jump into Gouda 2. Keep the yeses coming. I love it. I love it. Oh, you're going to run the slides?
Well, no, I just wanted to show too, since we're talking about Gouda 2, if you haven't seen our emails, or maybe you're not on our email list yet, but you saw our Facebook post about this call, if you go to oacheddar.com, you'll see our website here. If you go to the Gouda section, you can hit apply now, and there is an application for this list. We are limiting who is going to be joining this list. We really want to find sellers who know what they're doing, who are not afraid of an increase in offers, and who don't default to lowering the price or beating the price by a penny to try to be competitive. We found that this is just a better option. There's a lot of sellers that are out there, but for Gouda list, we're trying to find 35 sellers who know exactly what they're doing and know how to work leads on a lead list responsibly. So if you're interested in that, check your emails. If you don't have an email, you can just go straight to oacheddar.com, hit apply now. We are taking applications, but we do plan on filling it up this week, so don't delay. Other than that, Grant, I'll let you take over the screen.
Do we still have that exit pop up on the website? Just check it real quick while you're on there. You don't have to show them.
Oh yes, no, we do. We do.
Okay, so the other thing is you can buy Feta, OA Feta, which, by the way, guys, I looked at OA Feta the other day, and like several days in a row, the on the top shelf section of Feta, it's like 14 leads a day. It's crazy. Like, we're really hammering down on the Feta, trying to way over deliver. It's $99 a month normally, but you can get it for 50% off if you go to the website and you just act like you're gonna, if it's been the first time you've been there in a minute, you act like you're gonna exit the website and click it out. A pop-up should come up asking you for your email address. If you put your email address in there, you can get a coupon code for 50% off your first month. And that's for Feta or Cheddar, any of those lists, Feta or Cheddar. You can get 50% off your first month. So check that out if that's something you're interested in. And then with that said, we have one other thing I want to tell you.
I want to add real quick about Feta. That 14 leads, that's our, it's not a promise minimum, but that's our minimum that our team fills it up at. So they know every day that they try to put 14 leads on Feta, just in the top shelf section. That doesn't include replenishables or any honorable mentions. We had the extra leads. We figured, why not deliver it? And yes, like what Grant is saying, there are some really great leads on there. You might not find the biggest ROIs, but you're going to find faster moving products, great opportunities to buy larger quantities, maybe make less, but higher volume. I've been sourcing from Feta recently too, and there's some really good stuff that I find out of that. And there's sometimes I look at Feta and go, why isn't this on a top shelf section on OH?
Because it's got a 30% ROI, right? But if sometimes it's got a $15 net profit and a 30% ROI, it's not going to make it to OA Cheddar, right? That's why Feta is valuable. Honestly, it's underpriced in my opinion. I just don't think people really understand what the value of what's there. And we've increased the value significantly because we used to have open it up to 55 sellers. We've reduced Feta down to 35 sellers. And we've like essentially doubled the amount of leads that we're dropping on Feta on a regular basis. So it's just a no-brainer in my opinion. We really don't even make money off of it. It's just a give. So
want to knock out 2 questions real quick for Elizabeth. If you have filled out a Gouda application before, it is not required that you fill it out again. You're more than welcome to. It will put your name on the list twice. But we are going through the applications that we have received, and we're sending out invites based off of that. We have had I think we're over 100 applicants already for Gouda lists. We select 35. So there is a plethora of people who have applied. I looked at today, we're only approving about 50% of people who have applied so far. Again, we're taking it very serious that we're looking for a certain type of seller to add to that list. So if you haven't already applied, if you've already applied, you don't need to, but if you want to apply again, you can. It just shows that you're really interested. And then Martin, is the discount for a new list only for new customers? The answer to that is no. If you are an existing customer and want to start a new subscription, then you can use that 50% off code for your new subscription. If you go to our website, and if you go to leave our website, you'll see a pop-up, put your name and email in there, and you'll see that code.
Yep.
And
why? So, yeah, 50% off for new subscriptions. Why
Yep.
is Gouda more than Cheddar? It's because it's got 35 sellers instead of 55, right? So just less competition, same leads. It's basically the exact same thing as an OA Cheddar list with less sellers.
Okay.
Hey, I better jump in and do the content, Taylor, because everybody
Yes.
said yes, and then I didn't do it. So here we go. Let's go ahead and grab this. And I'm going to make this a little bigger.
I can see your screen, so we're good to go there.
Cool, let me get this
Guys,
out
if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat room or use the Q&A section. We will respond to those after we've gone through the presentation.
Cool. All right, guys, here it goes. So selling 7 figures and earning 6 figures annually with OA Cheddar. As we've stated before, we source exclusively off of OA Cheddar. We don't have a private team of lead list generators or lead gens that just send us leads. We don't pull leads out. Like, if honestly, it makes no sense for OA Cheddar to do anything other than take the absolute best that we can find and deliver it to the lead list. And we've always done that ever since 2018 when we started. So the best leads that we're buying from are delivered to OA Cheddar and now OA Gouda, right? Because we got OA Gouda going on, right? But we also buy off of Feta as well. And one of the things I want to say is as we go through this presentation, I'm kind of going to explain what I'm talking about. Feel free to poke holes, right? I want to invite you to challenge me on anything I'm saying. Call me a bullshit artist, that I'm lying. I don't really care. Like, say whatever you feel, ask me questions, make this hard on me, right? Like, I'm telling you what my business looks like on the inside. Obviously I can't like sit at my computer unless you were like in my office and actually show you everything. If we had a super really, but this is a public forum, right? So I can't just, dive into my Seller Central, let everybody see my store name and stuff like that. So I'm doing the best I can to be as transparent as possible with screenshots and stuff like that. So like I said, poke holes. The other thing I want to say before I move forward is I hear a lot where people are saying, I can't make money selling on Amazon. Online arbitrage isn't working anymore. Blah, 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 blah. I'm quitting, whatever. You guys, like Taylor said, most of the stuff we buy is right off of the fresh data that we deliver every day. Like 97% of it, 98% of it is all the fresh leads that we're delivering every day. We try to keep this as stupid simple as absolutely possible. If you're having a hard time and you're busting your ass to make less than a 7-figure salary and it's not because you don't have the resources for it, you're making it too difficult. Okay. Or you're restricted, which I understand. Okay. So unless you're heavily restricted and you're a new seller or you're limited by budget, selling 7 figures is super easy. I'm going to show you how it's done. So assuming my computer will work, let's see here. I'll make sure that I get to the next slide here. Why does it do this, Taylor?
Because Mac. Okay. I was going to
All
rant
right,
about
you
Apple for a
dirty
second.
man. Can you see my cursor?
Yes, I can.
Whatever. I'm just going to leave it there. Okay, so 3 years of OA with OA Cheddar. So as you all know, we used to do retail. Well, most of you know, we used to do retail arbitrage pretty much exclusively, leading all the way up through the end of 2019. And the story goes, I bought a bunch of inventory off of our historical data from OA Cheddar for Q4 2019. Some of the best inventory we had in our store that season was from OA Cheddar. And I thought, what the heck? What if we just get Taylor off the road? We stop spending a bunch of money on, truck, gas, hotels, everything we had to do to run all over Washington State and buy the inventory we wanted. We just go right into OA Cheddar and start buying the data. At that time, guys, I think we had like 5 or 6 lists, and I had to take $1 million retail arbitrage store and turn it into $1 million, basically flip the script, do it with OA and turn it into $1 million OA store. And at the time, like I said, we did that with like 5 or 6 lists. I think maybe we were subscribed to a few other lead lists for like a couple months at a time before we were like, we just have enough stuff with OA Cheddar. Let's keep buying off of that. Now we have 10 lists, including Feta. That's 11. And it's just gotten that much easier. We're able to cherry pick a little more. Competition hasn't gotten worse, right? It's gotten more competitive in the Amazon space. I'm not going to pretend like that's not true, any of that type of stuff. So it probably is helpful that we have 10 lists now in 2022, 2023 than when we were converting from 2019, 2020. Okay. So just full transparency on all that. Let me get this thing out of my way a little bit. Okay. So as you can see, from 2020, exclusively sourcing OA Cheddar pretty much all the way through the end of 2022. We did $4.3 million in sales. This is right out of my inventory lab account. Move this as well. And you can see here the net profit at $592,000. After divide that by 36 months, it comes to about $16,400 in monthly gross profit after Amazon fees. Inside my inventory lab account, I don't use it for accounting. We use QuickBooks for that. I have none of my subscription expenses recorded inside of Inventory Lab. It's literally just, here's your sales, here's your returns, here's all the other Amazon related details and whatnot. One other thing that I make sure that I always do is I use my disposition management system to make sure that all of my cost of goods for inventory that gets returned to me is recorded correctly. The cost of goods is recorded correctly. So it does go against my net profit. This is about as accurate as I can make it. To show you that we didn't just do this a few years ago and then now we're just like coasting and not doing it anymore. Not that that necessarily matters. Like if I tell you something, it really is the truth. But this is what our sales look like in December of 2022, $136,000 in sales, $19,000 in net profit after Amazon fees before any overhead. We'll see this slide again later in the show. So general monthly expenses. So what I've done here, guys, is what I obviously there are things I pay in my business that I have not recorded here. For example, I used to pay for my own warehouse, right? I used to have a full-time shipper instead of a prep center. I currently pay for cell phones for Taylor, Charles, and myself, and I put that against my business. There's other expenses that I put against my business that I didn't record here because they're really not relevant to every seller, right? So you're gonna have things you pay for in your business that I don't have, and I'm gonna have things that I pay for in my business that you don't have. For example, I put OA Cheddar subscriptions in here, assuming 10 lead lists. When we used to have 10 OA Cheddar lists, we now have 8 and 2 Goudas. I don't pay for OA Cheddar subscriptions, but if you were, right, this is a hypothetical. So I'm trying to use my business as a mirror for what you can, and my stats, and then trying to show it like what this could look like in your own life, right, in your own business. Okay, so if I was paying for 10 subscription lists at an average of $149 a month, $14.90, I got Cheddar Soft in here at $49, gotta have it. Rev Seller, $99 a year or $8 a month. Keepa, gotta have it, right? Average $20. I didn't even go look. I know it's like 17, 18, 19, it changes, whatever, $20. Prep Center, $2,700. That's about average what we're paying our prep center. It could be more some months, less other months. I pay $450 a month for my accountant. Seller Central for $40. My repricer cost $150 a month. Inventory Lab $69. My IP claims attorney subscription $89 a month. And we just we get few enough IP claims, even though we buy stuff that's sold by just the brand, and even though we buy stuff that has IP claims on, IP alert on it, and IP alert's a great tool. We leverage it, we look at it, but we keep buying stuff that IP alert says to some sellers, don't buy, right?
Preach.
Raise the
Preach.
roof. Preach it.
I'm so
Yeah.
it's such a real thing. Is so many people who are afraid because they get a little alert that pops up, whether it doesn't matter what software they're using, and they go, "Oh, I can't buy this." It's like, no,
Yeah.
no, no. That is a warning. Don't assume, don't let a software control your inventory purchasing. Well, anyway, I'm
Let
gonna
me tell you this. How
go
about
up.
this? For every one IP claim you get, you're probably going to get like 10 or 15 letters from brands that aren't filing IP claims that are threatening to sue you. Are we going to stop selling all those brands too? Okay. So anyway, being cocky, I don't want to come off that way. So maybe it's the 3/4 of a beer I've drank. I'm sorry if that's the case. Point is, I got an IP claims attorney. We pay for a monthly subscription. Taylor's over here giggling. And we just use the freebies that we get, like with a subscription. We don't pay any extra to get any additional help because we do know how to file our own claim appeals. And oftentimes those are approved. And then when they're not, we definitely go to the attorney and ask for help. QuickBooks, $60 a month. And then Paychex fee. This is just, I went through my QuickBooks account. I was like, well, what else do I pay for that others might pay for if they have like employees? Every 2 weeks, we pay our team, and it's $102 every time we do payroll. Okay, so $204 for the month. That's $5.3 thousand per month in general monthly expenses. So here's the hours that we invest. And guys, no lie, this is all it takes. Okay. So building a buy list on Cheddar Soft is probably, what did you say, Taylor, an hour or less?
It's about an hour a day. Yep.
Yeah, about an hour a day. Placing those orders on Cheddar Soft takes about 3 hours a day or less. And it might give or take. There might be a day where it's maybe a little longer because of some challenges or something comes up. I think sometimes it's often faster than 3 hours.
Multiple SKUs, multiple suppliers. Sometimes we have days where we're ordering a lot from one supplier. And so we don't need, so we don't have a ton. So yeah, but I'd say 3 hours is probably a good average, maybe a little on the high side, but I think that's fair.
Cool.
Likewise, I also say an hour a day. Like that's coming from me as a sourcer. I've been sourcing product for 5 years. I've really like just honed in on my skill. It might take somebody an hour and a half, 2 hours to go through the same amount of leads. I'm also not dissecting these leads from the very beginning. I check it. Our QC team checks it. Charles checks it before he buys it. So I just want to give that context. It might take somebody on average, maybe 2 hours to build a buy list for the amount of leads that I go through.
Right. Well, and I suppose if you've scaled up to 7 figures, you're probably efficient, as about efficient as we are. Although we've been selling 7 figures for, 5-6 years in a row or whatever. So we're probably a little faster than others. And I would say we're probably less critical than most.
We also use Cheddar Soft, which saves a ton of time with the ordering process and the buying and the making decision process. I'm able to exclude results, and I know for a fact I need to make more money on my net to make sense for our business. And then likewise, when it comes to placing and recording orders, it is extremely fast, much faster than it used to be when we were recording things to a spreadsheet. I want to keep that in mind because we're talking about probably double the time for sourcing and double the time for maybe not double the time for orders, but it was considerable amount of time just even doing those two things when we were working off of spreadsheets.
Yep. Yeah. Cheddar Soft has saved us a lot of time, made things efficient. The biggest thing that I think one of the best things a seller can do is just get all of their data into Cheddar Soft first thing in the morning. As soon as you get data delivered, get it into the system and then use the system to its fullest extent. You're going to find that it saves you hours per day. No questions asked. If it doesn't, let me know and we'll figure out what we did wrong. So reconciling prep center issues. So this means like taking the orders that we order every day, pumping them into their system so that they can reconcile orders. And then when there's issues that come up, as you guys all know, you've been doing this, you know what it's like, right? It takes about an hour a day per average. And the way I looked at this is I have one person doing my ordering and one person, and that same person doing my prep center management and inventory management with the prep center. And he works less than 4 hours per day on average. Okay. For us doing this. Inventory IP management on Seller Central and playing with the Repricer. I put in here less than an hour a week because it's far less than an hour per week, most weeks, unless I'm doing some liquidation. and then I might spend about 4 hours on it. And I do that like every quarter, right? I'm not freaking out about stuff that's, below my profit range. Like it's all good. It's all good. It'll all work out. So total less than 5 hours per day. So right now I pay my GM, who is Taylor, more than this $500 per month figure, because he used to do a lot more work for my Amazon store. And now he's like 95% working for OA Cheddar. In fact, he's already training Charles, I think, or has Charles trained to actually build the buy list. So you're probably working far less than an hour per day for the Amazon store, I'm guessing.
As of right now on Tuesdays, because there's lots of meetings we have, Charles builds the buy list on Tuesdays. And then if for something pops up in my schedule that prevents me from getting to create a buy list early in the day, he'll cover me. So I'd say me personally right now, I'm probably doing about 4 hours a week in building a buy list, and maybe another hour and a half of putting out little tiny fires, making sure buyer messages are completed, making sure that our sister Kimberly is keeping up with the account health type stuff. So yeah, it's probably a safe assessment.
Yeah. So what'll happen is, like I said, I'm paying Taylor in the Amazon store more than $500 per month, but I wanted to be more realistic in this summary. We're going to take his income, what I've been paying him, which is over and above what he's actually producing for the Amazon store. We're going to move that over to OA Cheddar, because OA Cheddar is reaping the benefits of Taylor's time. So that's, again, I probably don't need to tell you guys that, but this is just our attitude about how we communicate with our audience. Like, it needs to be as transparent as possible. So $500 per month plus 29% tax. That's what it costs to pay people in Washington State, with all of the various taxes. $649 per month for my GM. That's a realistic figure that we will get to here in the near future. And then 1.6 thousand per month for the guy, Charles, who's running all the orders and the prep center reconcile and doing some of the buy list building, again at 29% tax, $2,167 per month. So team wages, realistically, $2,812 per month. Sometimes this thing lags real good. So let's see if I can get it to go.
This is yeah. I would love to rant about Apple one of these days, but this is not the call.
Yeah, for sure. So wanted to throw this in here as well. Taylor, can you make sure I didn't miss a slide? Will you check the slideshow and just make sure I didn't skip a slide? Because sometimes that'll happen. So the cashback income for 2022, pulled this out of Top Cashback and Rakuten. Now, we could be a lot more strategic and make more cashback every year than we do. But again, as I said at the beginning of this call, we just try to keep it as stupid simple as possible. Like, I'm happy with what it is, right? So we earned just under $12,000 last year from Top Cashback, and just under $5,000 from Rakuten. So about $16,000 and some change for cash back in 2022. Dirty dog, come on. There we go. Okay, so I wanted to come back to this slide because as I get into the next slide, I want to give you a frame of reference. So I'm using the average monthly gross profit after Amazon fees from this slide right here. Okay, so I'm taking an average of the last 3 years. In 2000, and again, full transparency, in 2021, we sold the most we've ever sold on Amazon within a calendar year. That was about 1.7 million. Okay, so just to give you some perspective, we're normally in the 1.3, 1.4 million range on other years. We just bought more inventory. That's all we did in 2021. We just bought more inventory. Was it? Yeah, 2021. I wanted to make sure I was specific about that. Yeah. So did 1.7 million there. So obviously the monthly income in 2021 was a little higher, but let's just assume you're selling on average, what is 4.3 million? Because this would be like the
1.4. I already did the math before this. 1.4 mil.
Okay. So 1.4 is like the average. And this is what you could expect is 16,000, at least in my store. Now, again, you might go and do replens. You might go and do rabbit trailing. You might go and just be really strategic and smart. And it might cost you a little more to do that work. And you'll earn a higher net profit percentage than I do. And that's okay. Again, we're doing this with very, very part-time effort. So, are we good?
We're good.
Okay, cool. So here's just a summary breakdown. 16.4 in gross profit after Amazon fees, 5.3. And again, I used to pay for a prep center, right? So these general expenses are just based off of today, right? So 5.3 was general expenses, 2.8 is team wages. That comes to 8.3 thousand in net profit, 99,000 per year. Add in the cash back, 116,000 in total net profit if you take everything in consideration per year on average for the last 3 years.
I want to point out, not if you can go back to that slide, that the 2,800 in monthly expenses for team wages. Again, I really think that a husband and wife combo can do this without a team. And you could just imagine taking that expense, putting it back into your net profit, because like Grant said, like this is a very simple process that we do, and it's something that two people can operate on their own. You can also find two VAs to do order reconciling, purchasing. We know folks who do that. They have VAs make purchases for them. They use virtual credit cards to manage that. So there is a way to even lower the expenses from what, in our own business, but we don't do that in ours because, one, we have our cousin who works for us, who's done an amazing job and has been with Grant for 7 years. We're not going to pay him minimum wage. We're going to make sure he's well taken care of. And then likewise, myself included into that mix.
Yep.
So,
well, yeah. And then take the prep center into equation. Okay. So what if you did your own ordering, you built your own buy list, you did your own ordering, and you did your own prep? Well, now you're talking about almost $6,000 a month that I'm taking out of the profit equation that you could add to it. So 6, that's 72. It's safe to assume that a husband and wife couple who are working hard, 8-9 hours a day, really busting their hump, could earn a nice 150, 160, $70,000 per year on average, doing exactly what I do, but not outsourcing any of the work and just doing it themselves.
well, and also too, if we didn't need to get a warehouse either. When we had a warehouse and then we have a prep center, which they about almost equal out the cost for employee wages, cost of rent for a warehouse. We made that move because we also had a private label, separate business that was also being operated that needed room. But we were able to operate our 7-figure store out of a garage in Grant's house for all those years, and we could have continued to do it as well. It was just once we added in that second business with all that inventory that came in, we needed a bigger space.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, and we were also exploring the idea of really doubling down on Amazon, getting another shipper. We never actually did that. In the end, we ended up making a decision like, let's try a prep. It's kind of like the decision with RAOA. It's like, let's save time, spend less money, and do this differently. We kind of did the same thing with the warehouse. It's like, well, let's cut the warehouse. Let's cut Charles' time. He can go to work for OA Cheddar. Thank God we had that as a backup for his schedule, to fill his schedule, so he can make full-time wages. And we were like, well, let's dump that extra cost and turn it and go into a prep center, and actually cost less money overall.
And we did that by burning the ships before we ever did. I'm almost same thing with OA and RA. We made a commitment. We are not going back on the road. We will figure out this OA thing. And it took a little while to kind of get ourselves up and running and get organized. And we made some small mistakes. We made changes to our systems. Same thing with the prep center too. I think we can't, called our landlord and said, hey, we're ending our lease in 2 months, before we ever had a prep center figured out, the systems figured out. And I think that's just important for everyone who's watching this call. Sometimes you need to burn those bridges and make a change and just force yourself into it. Don't overthink the equation. Don't overthink the process that you're going to have to do. Just do it, start, don't be afraid.
Of course, we penciled out, like when we moved from the warehouse to the prep center, we penciled it out. It had to make sense. And it did. And actually, it's been the best thing ever. I mean, we have remote work freedom, all three of us. It's super cool, and we're grateful for it.
Yep.
Okay, so I wanted to give you guys kind of just like a health report in a sense, and just get some more perspective on the store that I hope stimulates questions. I don't see a lot of questions. So if you guys have anything coming up as we go through this, just drop it in there. Like I said, poke holes in everything I'm doing, and I'd love to respond. So currently, as of the 1st of February 2023, we have about 65,000 in Amazon currently available for sale or at Amazon's fulfillment centers. 8,000 and some change that's currently inbound. With that, there's anywhere from 15,000 to 25,000, depending on what we bought, how much we bought, how long it's taking to get to the prep center that's on order or at the prep center warehouse. There's always that nut kind of out there as well. But I also wanted to show you what it looks like in November 25th of 2022. Like, what did it look like as we were coming into what I call the peak season of selling? That's basically, Thanksgiving Day through about the 10th of December. I feel like that's the richest opportunity to sell stuff at a premium price point. We had $95,000 at Amazon at that time and $10,000 inbound. So we have less inventory in the system as of right now than we did November 25th of 2022.
I want to point out too, Grant, as we were going over these numbers, we were like, okay, our inbound and what's at Amazon, our cost of goods is lower than what it, is lower now. And it's January, right? We're going to be higher in November than we are in January. But as we're looking at this, something that just caught my eyes are unlisted inventory. And then if you take that into the equation in the totals, we're not that far off from where we're at in November. This is, with our prep center, they put all of our orders in unlisted inventory first. Then once they receive it, they actually create, everything that needs to be done in inventory lab to make a shipment happen. So I just noticed that we're about, $23,000 difference right now than where we were in November.
I'm not really sure how they manage that, honestly. Part of the problem is I've tried to go in there and be like, okay, well, let me delete the unlisted inventory that is dead, is never going to make it to Amazon. There's no date on it. And so you have no idea what to delete from there unless you're going to go, at least to my understanding, line by line by line, which is crazy. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I kind of really don't.
Point.
Yeah. So that unlisted inventory, I would say, is like irrelevant. Don't even. I kind of understand your theory there, Taylor, but I would just argue it's irrelevant for the most part.
Fair.
Okay. So my sell through, like how quickly do we sell stuff? Okay. So 71% of it sells within the first 90 days. Okay. 11% of it sells within the 90 day to six month or 180 day range. And then you can see that I'm a little behind on liquidation. Like, I got some stuff that's been in the store for over 6 months that I need to go and like hammer down and work through. And stuff that's even been in the store for over a year that I just probably either need to liquidate and sell or remove from Amazon and sell on eBay, or just price really aggressively or fix the listing. So again, some people are going to probably look at this and go, what the hell is Grant doing? He's not paying any attention. It's not that I don't pay attention. It's just that I'm not sweating bullets about the little stuff when it comes, like, I'm not married to this inventory at all. I'm not emotionally attached to it. And I think that's super key. Like, I see a lot of sellers and I think that the reason that they don't succeed in this business is, and I used to be this way, they get emotionally invested into the inventory. I give zero shits about the inventory in my store, other than when I go and sorry to be that frank, but other than when I go into the store and I see like a category where it's like, okay, this has been in the store for over 6 months. I've got to liquidate it. Amazon came back in it or whatever. And there have been times where I will report that to Taylor and Charles and be like, hey guys, we really just need to kind of avoid this type of stuff because I'm finding that, it tends to be the general theme of what's stuck in the store and isn't going to sell for a profit. So we kind of adjust as we go. But yeah, so liquidation is just part of it. And, but again, almost always the price will recover. But are you willing to wait 9-12 months? Not always, right? I'm not even always willing to wait more than 6 months for the price to recover. And sometimes it'll never recover. But the vast majority of the time it will recover and sell. And again, I think this is where it can get tough because people want to turn and burn their inventory. They want to make the most out of their inventory budget. To some degree, you just kind of need to build a bigger nut of inventory over time. And I'm not even sure how to explain it. I just don't get emotionally invested in this stuff. And like I said, I am behind. I probably haven't done any liquidation since like October. I went through and hammered like some stuff down like October, maybe early November. So I'm a few months behind. And then within a couple of clicks and about 4 hours of time, I could probably reduce these 180 day and above percentages down quite a bit.
I want to make, well, go ahead and
ahead.
finish it up.
No, go ahead.
I was going to mention also, because we have this question here about, what do we do with returns, and what we used to have an eBay store. It's still existent. And actually, if you look behind me, that's kind of, that box right there, that's all eBay stuff. I'm listing it. I'm only listing it because I'm trying to earn extra money for my wedding in July. But normally, when we were operating for 2020 and 2021, we also had an eBay store that would, what was it doing in sales roughly a month?
Oh man, I want to say it was about $24,000 a year in eBay sales, something like that.
So yeah, so an extra $2,000 a month incoming into the business while we had our eBay store open. Once we moved to a prep center, we got rid of that because we didn't really have a certain, we didn't have a way to, we didn't want to manage an eBay store. Even doing this, guys, I almost think it's almost not worth it. The amount of time that it takes to listing an eBay. We are working with a prep center who that also does eBay liquidation. We're going to be trying them out. We're going to be kind of like the guinea pigs. But there are prep centers that will do eBay listing return management for you as well. Few and far between to find those types of prep centers, but there are companies out there. Ask around, and you should be able to find one.
Yeah, that conversation was happening in Black Chat a couple of days ago, and there was a referral that was made. So, but I'll reserve that for Black Chat. Like if we, it's just, that's for them alone. But that's what we're gonna do is, because I've got July through today's removal orders in the dining room over there, and it's a good amount of stuff. I'm looking forward to getting that stuff listed, and I'm looking forward to someone else getting that stuff listed on my eBay store, and capturing back some of that nut. And what I'll tell you too, guys, is like the way we just as a tip, I think the by far the easiest way to manage your inventory cost of goods that's basically being liquidated on eBay is when it gets removed out of Amazon, just make sure your disposition is set to unsellable. That way the cost of goods sold gets recorded against your P&L. And then whatever your eBay store produces, you just count that as profit, right? That just goes as top line revenue into the store with no cost of goods attached to it because you've already reconciled that inside of Inventory Lab. So I can talk about disposition management on another call in detail if y'all would appreciate that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, would like me to discuss it on a future call, you can let us know in the chat. Okay. So this is inside of my Inform. This is my repricer. Okay. I know that there's some really BA repricers out there with tons of like bells and whistles and all of this. I keep it super freaking basic. Again, just super simple. And it's simply like a match FBA, match the low FBA price, or go after the buy box if it's at a higher price. And then I have a minimum. I used to check in inventory one listing at a time, and I would set a custom min and max for it every time. I went ahead and just created a blanket strategy where I could just apply it to every listing, and importing the cost of goods, the buy cost out of Inventory Lab into Informed. And my repricer strategy since basically summer of last year of 2022 is $10, 10% ROI. And then the max, I think I don't even have a max. I think it just does whatever it wants to do or something. I can't remember exactly specific. I'll have to check on that. If you guys want me to talk about my repricer, like I said, I'm not a repricer ninja. I literally go in here like every other day. I look at all the listings that don't have a strategy set to it. I select all and add the strategy to it, and I walk away and never look at it again, unless it's been in the store for over 6 months. And I've decided that this is the day out of the 4 days a year that I actually do it, to do liquidations and get rid of stuff that's just kind of dead. So as you can see here, I got 43% next to the 328 number. Its competition is below min price. That's how many listings I have in my account where the competition is below 10% ROI, pretty much, right? There might be a few there where I've actually lowered the min, and so those are included in that, but that's what it's at. And that number, no matter how much inventory I sell and send in, sort of just hovers around that range. And what that tells me is there's stuff coming out of that 328 becoming profitable and selling all the time, because the percentage of inventory that's below my minimum price that I've set is roughly somewhere between 40 and 45%. Like, it's always kind of there. What I will tell you is, when I was doing retail arbitrage, and I think it's just because there's less competition overall with retail arbitrage because there's more diversity in the, brick and mortar market. I would see that number would still be very similar, but it was probably closer to about 33-35% of my listings would be below my minimum price. But it was still existed with retail arbitrage. Okay. Online arbitrage, I've found that it's higher, right? That there's more competition with online arbitrage. We're all sourcing from the same merchants on the internet. And so it's become obvious that it's generally a higher number of listings that have quote unquote tanked. Again, tanking is mostly temporary. So make sure that's pointed out. I will say in 2022, I did see that my competition is below min price get up to about 50%, even 52%, I think, at one point. And that was towards the summer of 2022. And we've talked to enough sellers to find out that like that was kind of a general consensus. Like, a lot of people were kind of like, what the hell, like, I don't have enough listings in my store that I can sell for a profit right now. And we felt the same thing. Currently, our store is actually performing really well. I didn't put it in here because I don't know why. I should have showed you, but in the last 30 days, when I took this screenshot in February, in January, it was like this system was telling me 18%, $18,000 in gross profit, or net profit or whatever, based on my repricer and what it sold at. I have found that there are fees and things inside of Inventory Lab that are being recorded that obviously is not being recorded inside of my repricer or considered in the repricer. So I'd have to go look at Inventory Lab. It's probably not quite $18,000 in profit over the last 30 days. So I hope that gives you kind of a frame of reference. Like this right here, right? Competition is below min price. It is very normal. I've been doing this for 8 to 9 years. It's extremely normal. And most people are giving it way too much weight inside their soul, right? They're letting it have too much of an impact. Now I get it. You got to pay attention. You got to be smart. You got to figure out what you're doing, that, what you can change to make your store perform better. And I have those conversations. Taylor and I have those conversations. We go, why is this happening? How can we fix it? But at the end of the day, I'm not running for the hills, right? And I'm not sending, Cheddar an email going, I can't, this is all your fault or whatever. And I'm not saying people do that, but it's like when we hear the types of complaints and the frustration and stuff like this, I'm kind of like, well, guys, like, it does work. You just have to kind of understand the rhythm. So if you're a new seller and you're hearing me say this, just have peace and, again, learn and optimize, but don't give up. All right. So Q&A, and then I'm going to bounce out of here, stop sharing. Hopefully you guys like that.
If you guys appreciated Grant's presentation, please throw a what do you want to use for a word, Grant?
I don't know, but I'm gonna dab my sweat here. It's a little toasty.
Fire. I like that, Ryan. Let's use fire. So if you guys liked what Grant just the last 35 minutes or whatever that Grant went over this, put fire into the chat. I know we said that this was going to be strictly to 6, but I'm going to make a call and say, since we are we're getting close to that hour, we're going to stay on for just a little bit longer and wrap up these questions that have come through. So
thank you guys.
First question is from Ryan. He's asking, how are you keeping track of returns, whether or not they end up being profitable or you take a loss on it, looking to build a good system for this?
I love my answer for this. We don't track the returns. We don't care. We just sell. And I'm not saying that that's the right attitude. I'm not saying that like that you shouldn't do that, right? But at the end of the day, we aren't paying that much attention. Like, we're just turning and burning. We're sending in new stuff. We're getting rid of the old stuff. We're sending in new stuff and we're getting rid of the old stuff. And You know, when we did retail arbitrage, we did hells of clothes, tons of shoes. We never sat there and went, well, this shoe's not working. We just kept buying and selling and buying and selling and buying and selling and liquidating and buying and selling and liquidating.
Well, and we do disposition management and inventory lab, which record, which, so when an item comes in, is returned
returns
to
and
Amazon.
removal orders are different.
Right? Yeah, I think that's what he's talking about, is returns and removal orders. So when a customer returns something into our store, Amazon does an evaluation, determines whether or not it's sellable or unsellable. We did also turn on a feature that I know is not allowed, at least at the time when we turned it on, wasn't allowed for everyone to have. I think we are grandfathered in because of how old our account is, where Amazon will actually evaluate the product and determine whether or not it can be sold as used. And if it can be sold as used, they create a used listing that ends up in our repricer. We do, that does get repriced, and we sell it as a used listing on Amazon. Great little program that they started. Before that, we would have the items returned to us if we were told that they were in unsellable condition. We would evaluate the products ourselves. If we deemed that that was good enough to be sold on Amazon as new, we would send it back into FBA. If it was used or couldn't be sold as new, we would then list it on eBay. And we use disposition management to kind of manage our cost of goods and how we do all that. Kyle, I really appreciate that shout out. It's nice to see that we have another Central Washington guy in our mix. I don't see a question here, so I'm going to move to the next one. Who does the repricing maintenance and how often? That was another change that we made with our prep center. So before, we actually, like Grant said, everything was done manually, and we actually didn't even connect inventory lab to our repricer. I know that probably sounds super silly to so many people, but we don't like to make changes. If it's broke, don't fix it. And so we were so used to our system where in our SKU, we put our buy cost and then we would manually price instead of min and max. Now that's done by, like Grant said, it's done by importing the buy cost from inventory lab, setting up a basic strategy that takes a 10% ROI min. We're not really quite sure if we even have a max. It might not be, which would make sense, right? You don't want to, if somebody sold and you're the only offer left over on a listing, you probably want to price it for whatever that high price was. And so for now, I mean, Grant does it. He does one, like he says, 4 or 5 times a year. He goes in and he liquidates anything that's over 6 months. We have come to find that most items that we purchase rebound after 30 to 60 days. And so we normally see the bulk of our inventory sold in the first 3 months. I'm aware that is not possible for everybody. Like Grant said, we've built up a big nut worth of inventory over the years that we don't have to be so mindful. If you're newer at selling, you have to be a little more mindful about how much money you have invested, right? Where our system is, we've been doing this for so many years that the money the operating expenses and the selling of our account is pretty consistent, right? We have so much inventory in that. So we do see usually after 2 to 3 months, a lot of the inventory will rebound and sell if it's currently priced below our min. We don't obsess over it because frankly, we don't have the time and it's not worth it.
Go ahead.
Disconnecting your emotional connection to your inventory is probably one of the best things you can do as a business owner, because when you're emotionally connected, you're making decisions based off of feelings and emotions, not off of logic and rationale. Fear. A lot of fear. I see this in different Facebook groups, people obsessing over one product. Hey, I bought this. What do you guys think? What's going on with it? It's like, why stress yourself with that? Like it's a product. That product should be like dust. Like it's here today, gone tomorrow. Who cares? So as far as repricing maintenance, it's pretty much done automatically, other than the fact that we do go in periodically, call it every quarter, and we liquidate inventory.
I think it's also another good point to reference is, I think I said it was like there's like $75,000 worth of the inventory between what's in stock at Amazon and what's inbound right now. It's like somewhere in that range, right? And I got about 750 listings. Okay, so if I just take 75 grand divided by the 750 listings I have, we're investing on average $100 per listing.
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can, like, again, some sellers will go really, really deep, and that's fine. That can really work. Yeah, or you can go a lot deeper and have a lot less listings and maybe even have similar performance as we do, but we just still continue to kind of cast a wide net. Um, and so we're not super deep on stuff. So, when I have to liquidate 3 or 4 or 5 of something, again, I used to actually think, when I was doing liquidation, I used to go, oh my gosh, that's $200 worth of the losses. And then I stopped caring completely. And I'm so much better for it. I see it. And again, I can learn from it. And it's more of like, not what's happening on an individual basis, but what's the trend? Am I noticing something that's kind of a theme when I'm liquidating? What's the theme that I'm liquidating? And how I do that, guys, is I literally just go into the inventory age report. I download the inventory age. I organize it inside of a spreadsheet from stuff that's over 365 days. I work through that. The stuff that's 9 months to 12 months, I go through that. I sort it. I go through it line by line. And so that's the one time where I'm actually going through listings line by line. And what I'm looking for is a trend. I'm looking for a common theme. For example, we were buying these comic books a lot, and some people buy them. I've actually, or even like vinyls. Like I've heard people say, are you a vinyl seller? And I'm like, really? There are guys that call themselves vinyl sellers, and I'm liquidating vinyls and getting annoyed, right? With vinyls, right? But at the same rate, how many vinyls, if I really cared enough, how many vinyls actually sold for a profit? Probably a hell of a lot more than the ones that I had to take a loss on. So
I want to touch on that real quick. So again, with our business, our time is more limited than dollars, than everything else. So we do things super simple. We do things super, just turn and burn. We set our repricer at 10% minimum. The downside to that, there is items and stuff that we purchase that when I'm buying it, my intention is this is going to do very well in the next 2 to 3 months. But that 10% ROI minimum, sometimes we sell stuff that I go, oh, we missed it. Man, I'm not going to change our systems because again, time is more important than every penny. But if we had more time, if all we were doing is FBA, there'd be certain things that I would set aside and not have automatically repriced, like vinyls. Vinyls are usually limited presses. They only make so many of them and they do it in waves. I'm thinking about Taylor Swift. I'm thinking about some of your top favorite brand or bands that are out there. And so that's a market where you can capitalize on the lack of supply that naturally happens when they have limited releases. Summer items, like we bought 6 tents. We had 5 show up at our door because we prematurely pulled them out of inventory. Our sister got a warning and got scared and pulled it out because she thought that an IP complaint was going to happen. These tents were 10-person tents. They're 38 pounds per pop. They're, and sure enough, Grant's calling me like, what are we buying this for?
why the hell do I have a pallet of tents in my house? That was the conversation.
What we, but if I looked at Keepa, I'd see like, man, in the summer, these tents are selling, you can make $150 per pop on them. And we bought them for 120. So, we're going to, we liquidate those too early, so there is some downsides to having a super simple method. And I don't want to skip over that. Like we could do better with repricing. And this is going to answer the next question where it talks about rabbit trailing. We could do better with sourcing 100%. We don't rabbit trail, not because we think rabbit trail is not worth it, is we don't have the time. Our time isn't worth it. Right. I make all the buying decisions, in our business. I only have so much time per day. But if I was only doing this FBA business, I would be rabbit trailing every single lead. I'd be maximizing my opportunity wherever I had a chance to. So you can get better profit by keeping a closer eye of what you're selling. And if you're selling something that is, really meant for a certain season, or that there's only a limited amount, you could make those adjustments. Likewise with sourcing, we don't have to buy fresh leads. We just don't have the time. So we buy only fresh leads to maximize our time. But if we weren't, we would be rabbit trailing. Rabbit trailing is a great strategy. We would be diving in deeper into our old data and doing replens, which we are doing. Cheddarsoft does make it easy. We do have a replens list that every once in a while we'll go back in and tap and say, hey, what's working? What can we purchase? I've been working with Charles to actually add that tag when we source it, not necessarily when we sell it. So that list is starting to build up, and I'm sure that's going to be something where, he's going to start going in once a week and going through the replen list and restocking us on some of the best ASINs that we've ever found. So, all in all, to say, like, the way we do our business works for us. If you have more time, you will get more profit. You will get more dollars out of it because you're going to put more time. You're going to invest into, your time and your mental fortitude into it as much as you can. But to give you guys an idea of, like, hey, how does this work? Buying just fresh leads, minimum time. This is what it looks like. I pull anywhere from 70 to 90 SKUs usually that I go over every single day. From there, I'm usually pulling over 40 to 50 SKUs with about 150 to 160 units. Some items I'm buying 2 or 3 of. Some items I'm buying 10 to 15, 20. I mean, we go deep when the opportunity arrives. We've learned this over the years that there's certain brands, there's certain sources that when there's the sales happening, you got to milk it for all it's worth. And we do that. So, but again, ultimately time is more valuable than more profit for us at this moment where we're at, and it works. So,
I don't get too hot and bothered about the rabbit trailing, partly because every lead list team in the market is rabbit trailing their asses off every day.
right.
And they're also scraping your store.
Right.
So you can do all this work, right? And I'm not dissing on rabbit trailing, but you can, and you should do it if you have the time. You should measure what the result is. You should compare your results to my store, where I don't do a whole lot of rabbit trailing. We don't spend a lot of time, going and trying to find the opportunities that were missed, because one, I know that if I find it, it probably was found by another lead list source that's not OA Cheddar and sold to a group of sellers. I know that as soon as it hits my store, within, I wouldn't be surprised if, and don't be surprised if your store, you shouldn't be surprised if your store is scraped daily by somebody, right? Because there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of virtual assistants doing this for hundreds and hundreds of different sellers and dozens of lead list providers, right? I'll just say that. So you can do that extra work, but make sure you measure the compare your results to the other sellers. I think it can be useful. I have yet to have another seller who does aggressive rabbit trailing that is at the scale. Okay. So don't be deceived. I can be a lot more profitable with a $500,000 a year store. Promise you, right? Because I can be more selective. But you start to scale, you get up to 1.2, 3, 4 million. Find me another seller, and I'm okay with being proved wrong, but find me another seller that's doing $1.4 million, $1.3 million a year, who has 4% net profit more than I do. And then tell me, and then I want to know how much more work and time and expense went into doing that. And I bet it all kind of shuffles out, and I'm doing a hell of a lot less work and getting the same result. That's my theory.
Yep.
I am studying. I'm even personally right now studying online arbitrage, and you guys, I've never ran a TA scan. Shame on me. Never ran a TA scan. Right? We got this team. We do the thing. We run TA scans. Right? Every day we're running, 40, 50, 60, 80 TA scans and investing. Well, what's 30 plus times 8 hours a day, right?
Right.
The point is you can do all that extra work, but someone else is doing it too. And I am not convinced that you can capture a better result than I do without investing enough time and resources into trying to capture that result. That doesn't essentially just make us all equal anyway.
Yeah.
Well, so what do you want? Do you want a simple business, or do you want a complex business? Do you want to have as little cost as possible, or do you want to add cost to make more profit? And again, it's a balancing act, right? And I'm biased, right? Because I do my business and I'm happy with the way it performs. And someone who does rabbit trailing on a high level and spends those hours every day doing that, they're proud of what they're doing. and so on. So that we all have our own biases. But if we were to all be truly transparent, and if everybody in the industry was to take their story and share what I shared today, what do you think I think it'd be a revolution, right? We'd all be like, what are we doing? I think a lot of people would be like, what are we doing? And I might be that way. I might be like, what am I doing? I could make twice. Show me how I can make an extra $5,000 per month profit after the additional effort by doing rabbit trailing. I just don't think it's there.
Right. We say it all the time. If you have more time than you have dollars, rabbit trailing, other,
Yes.
and diving in deep, that makes sense.
Good
If
point.
you have more dollars than you have time, then the method that we're doing, the way that we operate our business, is probably going to be more appealing to you, because it is very much hands off, and it produces pretty well. All right, Grant, let's fire through these because we're almost 10 minutes over. So what about shipment discrepancies or reimbursements? Do you have a third-party service or a subscription handling that? I assume this is where things like a refunds manager came into play. So if we send in 200 units of an item or 200 units and Amazon receives 190, how do we handle that? For the longest time, we were handling, we did have a company called Refunds Manager managing that and contacting Amazon on our behalf to get it squared away. We recently had an issue with that, where our refunds or the service that we were paying for was actually reaching out to Amazon so much that it was starting to cause an issue. I can't remember exactly all the details, but it was like Amazon said, hey, you can only submit so many requests for one problem so many times, and it's causing us problems. Grant, that's your side of things. Did we end up hiring another company, or are we doing that in-house now?
We're working with Getida, Getida. Thank you, Ed Dassey, for the referral. They're great. I've met with a couple of their people from their team. They've already captured like over $1,000. They pace themselves so that they don't basically piss off Amazon. They even go into your shipments and reconcile that and tee you up so that you can send them your invoices and stuff like that, so you can get your missing inventory and your FBA shipments reimbursed. So that is the one part of the manual process we're working, but it looks like it's going to be minimal effort.
And they just take a percentage of what they come back with, right? So it's not necessarily an expense as much as it is just a commission.
Yep, they're taking 25% of the money they capture for you.
Perfect.
Where are you at on the list here?
I'm at the end of the chat right now, and then I have some Q&A. So I'm going to switch over to the Q&A right now. There's a message from Erica and Martin that I haven't had a chance to read, if you don't mind looking at that. Yeah. So Martin also asked, how come you don't use the other expense feature section inside of Inventory Lab? I think I can probably answer this, Grant. It's because we use QuickBooks, and our accountant is also our bookkeeper. So that's the system that they have. They grab the inventory report to get all the stats from Amazon. That's important, but QuickBooks is where they manage our bookkeeping. And that's where that $450 a month expense comes from. That's an accountant and a bookkeeper. Mm-hmm. Buck says, to increase volume, is it just as simple as buying more inventory from Cheddar? If you ask us, yes. Yeah. Yes, it is. But I will say, as the person who does the sourcing, there is also, as we scaled, there was a little bit more strategy that came to it. So when in 2021, we had a minimum budget of $5,000 a day. I had to, like, if I didn't spend $5,000 a day, that was a problem. And we also had our own warehouse, so I was able to open myself up to lower net profit or lower ROI type opportunities. And I wasn't and the expense was, at least in our minds, wasn't as much. I would say that since 2021, we've kind of changed a little bit. I really prefer high net profit items. So I have a minimum net profit of $7. And if I can spend anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 in a day, I'm really happy. But I'm also okay with days where we spend $2,000 to $2,500, because I know when there's certain sources that have sales, I'm going to go spend $10,000 to $40,000 in a day from those sources, and that kind of evens out across the board. So it's not just a matter of, hey, let's just go out and buy a lot more inventory like crazy. I would say buy more inventory, but also pay attention to what you're buying from. Learn from other people. I learned that there's certain sources that don't limit you. So I know that when, I'm going to throw one out there just as like a little, Macy's. You can order from Macy's. If you order from Macy's and you buy 10 to 20 units of a certain item, they're not going to restrict you. They may cancel an order after so many orders have been placed, but they're not going to block you from making future purchases. So if Macy's has an item that I think sells really, really well, I'm going to go deeper on that because I know I don't run the risk of getting blocked. So there has been a little bit of nuance that has come into our sourcing, just simply from learning from other people, learning from mistakes. So it's strategic buying. I would say strategically buying more inventory when the opportunity arises, mixed in with a wide and shallow approach, where you're buying a small quantity of units for tons of different SKUs. And with that scaling comes more headache, right? If you have a really good system, if you don't, if you ever, I go back to like that $500,000 store. If you have a $500,000 store and you're hitting like a 25% profit margin, which we've met people who do because they rabbit trail. And shout out Leah Mola. I'm just going to say her name because she's honestly the best. If you guys don't follow Leah, you should really go and follow her. She's such a just super generous, super positive. I really enjoy all my conversations I've ever had with her. She was doing a store at 500,000 with like a 24% profit margin and just killing it. It was only her in a prep center. She was a sourcing wizard and she really loved treasure hunting. As she scaled up though, she had to hire some VAs. There comes different, it comes training. You might be an amazing rabbit trailer, but a VA might not be. There's lots of training that goes along involved in that. And when you're trying to sell at that type of volume, you sacrifice margin over time. Not a bad thing. It all kind of washes out. And as you scale, you do make more money, but it's not just as simple as just buy more stuff. It's you gotta be a little strategic. You gotta kind of understand the trends. We've learned a lot in the last 3 years of doing OA. The way that I used to source products in 2020 is way different than the way I source now. And that just kind of comes with growing pains. All right. Next question is, for repricing, is your strategy a minimum of 10% ROI and match price? Yes. We do not beat by a penny. I don't believe that beating by a penny is going to result in more sales for you, other than you might get some quick sales for a little while. And then eventually your price is going to tank and you're going to be sitting there wondering why don't I make any profit on this?
Yeah. You just don't want to contribute to price tanking. And if you're beating by a penny, and I know that, that's not exactly what's being said here, but if you are beating by a penny, all you're doing is taking all of the price match strategists and you're making them follow you all the way down. Like, you just don't want to contribute to the price tank. Match the low FBA. It sucks because there's always going to be some dickhead that lowers the price and you're going to follow them down. And, sometimes it works out, comes back around, and other times it doesn't. I think match strategy or beat FBA or beat low price, by a penny, or not beat, but sorry, scratch that. Don't ever do that. Price above competition by a penny, you can still make sales. You don't have to be the absolute lowest price to make sales. And so, a strategy I could consider if I really cared enough. But again, with a match strategy, I'm basically letting everybody else dictate what's going to happen. Right. So if they're going to lower the price, I'm going to follow them down. I know there's some really cool repricers out there that will raise your min price and try to capture the buy box at these higher prices. And I love those guys that are paying that hefty fee for those repricers, because I'm going to follow them up too. So thank you for that. So yeah. Erica, I'm curious real quick before we get off the call, Kyle, if you're still here, Kyle Williamson, can we read what you said in this long message on the call?
By the way, guys, we are giving away something here in a little bit. So if you stay on the call, you're actually going to win. You have a chance to win something. There's only 20 people on this call. As of right now, we did have more, but they've been kind of slowly leaving. So stick around and give us like another 10 more minutes and you might have a chance to win a cool little piece of Cheddar merch.
Erica said, if you source strictly between all of your Cheddar lists with 55 sellers per list, is having a good understanding of how to use your repricer to sell before the price tanks. I'm on one of your Cheddar lists and have been finding once I get product into Amazon, the price starts dropping because of the many sellers jumping on the listings. Thanks. Yeah. I'm assuming you're kind of on the newer side. There's a couple things that could be happening. One, if most new sellers can only buy certain things on any given lead list, right, then those particular items are going to get purchased more. Another thing that we do to try to avoid competitors is we buy expensive items. That's helpful when you can sell Nike and other things. There is a post that I shared in the Facebook group for cleartheshelf.com by Christopher Grant talking about ungating. You can go get ungated in a lot of really cool brands. So being restricted right now, at least at the time of him, he published that like a couple of weeks ago, I think. There's so many ways to get around being restricted right now. In fact, you can buy directly from Amazon using a business account and then use those invoices to get ungated in a lot of stuff. That's happening right now. In fact, Christopher Grant, I heard him say recently, this is like the ungating thing is wide open, wide open. It's never been easier to get ungated than ever before. So go find the post where I share Christopher Grant's blog post at cleartheshelf.com. Go read through that and go get yourself ungated so you can go and buy some of the things that me and Taylor are buying that maybe you can't buy right now.
Yep. And if you are newer and you're listening to this, focus in on selling items. Don't focus in so much on how much profit you're making on an item. When you're new, not having a history of sales is a problem. Amazon wants to see that you can handle the fulfillment, that the products that you sell are genuine, and that the customers who purchase the products from you are happy. So if you're still new and maybe you haven't cracked that $100,000 in sales yet, your first goal should be how can I get to $100,000 in total sales so I can start to get opened up in a lot of these brands. It used to be, and I'm not sure if this is still the case, but like Nike and Adidas and Under Armour, once you crossed over 100,000 in sales, people were getting automatically ungated in those brands. Amazon really likes to see that customers are happy when they purchase products from you. They don't necessarily care about how much you're selling the product for. So this is why I say the Feta list is great for new sellers, because it's a place where they can go. It opens up them to a ton of opportunity, and it's not about making a 40, 50, 60% ROI on your investment. It's really about, can I sell this, turn the dollar, at worst break even, right? But get my sales volume cranking. So that way Amazon says, we're going to give you more space in our warehouses. We're going to open you up to more listing opportunities. We like what we're seeing from your account. We want more people like you. And I think that's a misconception, is people focusing on profit when they're young. And it's like, nah, focusing on their sales and the rest will come, Yep.
Yeah, I want to say it was a few years ago, but we had several sellers that were subscribed to OA Cheddar, and as soon as they cracked like 10 grand a month in sales, like everything was starting to open up. But again, go read that post. Ungating, it's like a wide open door right now. Just go do the thing, right? This is your opportunity. Where do you get the number of leads you're pulling per day? This is for you, Taylor. Where do you get the number of leads you're pulling per day to evaluate? I think you said 120 SKUs per day.
So I evaluate probably about, on a really, really good day, it would be 90 to 100. And again, I'm using a $7 minimum net. So I just go into my Cheddar Soft account, pull up all the leads from today, minimum $7. And that's the only results that I usually go through for my first wave. If it's a really bad lead day and it's hard to find lead, and we have like 50, I might adjust that net profit to go down a little bit lower. I might tap into our replan list, but more often than not, it's just that simple $7 net. And out of that, say the low end is like 65 to the high end being 100. Out of that 65 to 100 SKUs, I'm normally pulling out anywhere from 110 to 150 units worth. And I'm probably pulling out about anywhere from 40 to 50 SKUs that I'm actually buying. Yeah. So I'm not going through 120 SKUs per day. We deliver roughly about 120 to 140 SKUs per day from all of our lead lists, including the replen section, and maybe not including Feta.
Probably not.
Not including Feta. But I don't buy every single one of those. If I had my own warehouse, then I would. If I had my own warehouse, then I wouldn't be, I'd buy more multi-packs because I pay extra for those to be fulfilled. I'd buy more more fragile items like Funko Pops. But because I'm using a prep center, I have to kind of limit myself. But yeah, it's about 65 to 100 SKUs per day that I vet and then or source from, and then about 40 to 50 SKUs maybe per day that I'm actually purchasing.
Barath, yes, you can get the Ungating blog. It can be found at Clear the Shelf, not Self. Clear the Shelf. Like I go into Walmart.
Shelf.
Yep. Cleartheshelf.com. Christopher Grant. Sign up for his email list. Dude is like the most generous guy in the OA space. Like period. He's the best. I love this. Robin Sills. She's at the gym, like breaking a sweat while she's on the Cheddar call. Like, Robin, you get it, girl. You get it,
Robin. I'm gonna drink my drink while you're on the treadmill. I should probably be on the treadmill. I should probably be on the Stairmaster instead of doing this.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we need to wrap this up. We're almost about a half hour over time. We really want to be strict about not doing that. So I promise you next week, you're not going to get the same amount of time with us. Just because we want to make sure we're respecting everyone's time, including our own, but we want to do something fun. So this is going to be kind of a reoccurring thing on these shows. So spread the word, make sure you're here every 2 weeks. And that is, we're going to give away some cool stuff. So we're going to start this off by we're giving away an OA Cheddar t-shirt. These are extremely rare because the only ones who have them are Grant, myself, Gabe, and Cindy. I don't think we've ever sent an OA Cheddar shirt to a customer, but they do exist. If you want, Grant, why don't you grab the ASIN for this listing and put it in the chat just in case. Cindy, our customer service manager, she actually owns this store and this merch account. And so if you do go and buy this shirt, it supports Cindy. Cindy's amazing. You should go support her. But we're going to give away 2 free t-shirts. The rules are this. The people that end up on this prize wheel are everybody who registered for the webinar on Zoom. And for those who are actually live, they actually have a chance to win. So you have to register and you have to be on the call live. I'm going to spin this wheel. If your name is on it, and Grant, I need your help. Actually, if you could look at the everyone who's on the call right now, and if you see that their name pops up, let me know. If your name pops up, throw it in the chat. Hey, that's me. What we're going to do is we're going to have you email Cindy. If you win, let her know, hey, I won. She's going to get your shirt size. She wants to know what color that you would like. And then she's going to send you a free shirt, a free OA Cheddar t-shirt.
So I would say I'm a man or a woman, right? I need a youth. If you're buying it for your kid, because you don't want to wear, a slice of cheese on your chest, which, hey, I wear cheese on my chest. I'm not afraid.
We're cheesy over here.
Yeah. So just let her know the exact variation you want. And then if you were above a 2XL, we'll get you something else. So you just let us know.
Yep. All right. So let's go ahead and spin the wheel.
This thing better go fast. We're almost a half hour over time.
I'm not sure if you could hear all that, but Brian Dubler. Do we have Brian on the list? Nope. Not on the list. All right. We're going to go ahead and spin again.
This doesn't happen very quickly. We are certainly going to just randomly select from the attendees on.
David McCoy.
We love him, but he's not here. Okay. 2 more spins, and if we don't land it.
Brian, you should have been on this call. Could have walked with 2 free t-shirts.
This thing must work in alphabetical order.
Robin Sills.
Is Robin here? I think there was a Robin earlier. Robin Sills, the gym lady. She's
There we
crushing
go.
it.
There we go,
That's
Robin. You got a free OA Cheddar t-shirt.
I love this.
All right, let's keep doing this because there's 45 people on this list. That's how many people registered. We have 20. So
17. We're down to 17.
Lonnie. How about a Lonnie Brooks?
Lonnie Brooks. Nope, I'm not seeing a Lonnie.
Okay.
Next two spins that don't land us, I'm going to randomly select one.
All right, fair enough. We got our boy Buck.
Buck.
Boy. We love this
Buck?
shit. All right.
Okay.
You two, go ahead and email us at support@OA-Cheddar.
No,
Say,
team.
hey, Cindy. What?
Team.
Sorry, team@OA-Cheddar. Email us at team@OA-Cheddar and let Cindy know your size, what color you would like. There's red, navy blue, gray, and black. And she will collect your address and send you a free t-shirt. That being said, guys, if you are watching the recording, you should have been here live. You could have got yourself a free t-shirt. You could have asked a question. So don't miss us next time. Our next date that we're going to be doing one of these calls, and I'm going to start making this more reoccurring and a little bit more of a heads up, is going to be not February 15th, but February 22nd. Which actually, Grant, we may be on the road during this call. So we'll have to make a decision whether or not we reschedule for a different day, or maybe we do a little mobile call on the road. Grant and I have a little trip planned for Portland, Oregon. We're going to maybe drive down and do some RA just to kind of wet our beaks from the old sourcing strategy and have some fun, maybe hit some of our best stores. So keep the 22nd open. You'll get an invite sooner than you got this one. And that's kind of when we're thinking about doing this next call. Again, every 2 weeks we'll be here. Thank you everybody who joined us live. Thank you everyone who asked a question. If you guys would be so kind, if you go into our Facebook group and you go to this event, if you want to throw a comment on that post, just letting us know how much you appreciated this call. It really helps us out and kind of helps spread the word so other people can join in on the fun. We will be having contests every single show that we do. So whether it's a t-shirt, whether it's a discount on a lead list subscription, whether it's a discount on a Cheddar Soft subscription, we're going to be getting creative with this. Other than that, thank you all for joining us. You have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.
Peace and love. Appreciate you.